Joining us is Elliot Abrams. He's the former Deputy National Security Advisor for the Mideast under President George W. Bush. It's nice to have you on set.
Nice to be here.
So Secretary of State John Kerry said we're at a very delicate diplomatic moment. Are we?
We are, if you buy the Iranian talking points, which are any more sanctions and we walk. I don't see why we should really believe that and why we should kind of cringe in advance. Let's keep pushing the sanctions. That's what got them to the table, Kerry tells us. The administration tells us that. So why would any further sanctions, delayed until June, by the way, they're not tomorrow morning, the Senate gives them 6 months, why would that blow up the talks?
And we should mention the deal that we have in Iran, I say air quotes deal, is just an agreement for some initial framework. It's not an official deal over their nuclear program.
It's a 6-month deal, and it isn't even, your quotes are right, because there has to be an implementation agreement, which there isn't yet. Before that deal goes into effect, it hasn't even started yet.
You get the sense, though, watching some of these hearings, and from what Secretary Kerry said, and when I say you get the sense, I'm saying I get the sense based on my research here, that there is this feeling of we know something that maybe you don't know, and you don't understand, Congress, the situation we're in right now. You've been involved in some of these very delicate conversations. Could that be true, that really the President and Secretary Kerry, they've been on the front lines, Secretary Kerry in particular, and know something that maybe Congress doesn't?
It's possible. It's a mistake if that's true. I mean, we know that there were secret talks now that the Saudis and Israelis and other allies weren't told about. If there's some kind of secret deal, they really ought to tell Congress about it and break the secrecy, because we know the American people are really not thrilled with this deal and would rather rely on sanctions. So if the Secretary is relying on some kind of secret arrangement with Iran, in the long run, people are going to be quite disillusioned.
Well, politics aside, what strategy makes us safer?
Well, I think actually in this case the polls are right, that is, the American people are right. Don't trust the Iranians. Keep the sanctions on. The more sanctions, the better. If sanctions got them to the table, the more pressure they're under, the more likely it is that they're going to be able to stay with the deal.
So you'd support Congress pushing ahead for eventual sanctions 6 months from now to keep the pressure on Iran?
Absolutely. Otherwise we know they'll cheat. They've done it for 10 years.
So just as an aside, we don't expect to vote on that in the next couple of weeks. It could happen, but so far we don't see that on the horizon. So it looks like the administration has a little time. I want to ask you about something else quickly. Secretary Kerry is back on his way to Israel,
right,
to continue these negotiations between the Israelis and the Palestinians. He has made the joke that he's a commuter now to that area of the world. Yeah. Why such the focus here, and is it the priority?
Well, he's made it the priority. You know, the president doesn't seem to have, and there is a huge opportunity cost here, the things that Kerry is not paying attention to. Syria, right next door, where the humanitarian conditions are just horrible and getting worse now that winter is there. Kerry arrived today in the middle of a snowstorm. Schools are closed in Jerusalem. Roads are closed. He's kind of putting air in the balloon every time he gets there, and as soon as he leaves, the air comes out again. I don't think he can keep doing this for 3 more years.
It'll be interesting to see. He's kept up